Imagine for a second that you are stepping up to a toll booth on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Okay, I am picturing it. Traffic, honking, the whole New York experience.
Right, exactly. But instead of an MTA worker sitting inside that little booth, the devil is sitting there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he is wearing this cheap discount store mask that he bought on Temu.
On Temu. That is oddly specific.
Very
Right.
specific, and he is lounging under this flickering neon sign that says Allahu Snack Bar.
Yikes.
Oh.
Okay, that is intensely provocative right out of the gate.
It really is. And just to top off the whole bizarre scene, he is casually sipping a virgin pina colada that is mixed with the literal tears of human beings he just scammed.
It is such a striking, completely unhinged visual.
Totally unhinged. And welcome to today's deep dive, because that visual is our entry point into one of the most bizarre, layered, and frankly overwhelming theological rabbit holes on the entire internet.
It really is a massive ecosystem. It's going to take all of our analytical tools to dismantle what is going on here today.
But wait, before we take a single step further into the specific rabbit hole, we absolutely need to establish some ground rules for you, the listener.
Yes, this is crucial. The mission of this deep dive needs to be stated right up front.
Exactly. So today we are examining a highly provocative, deeply polemical blog post that was published in April of 2026.
And we should mention the title, right?
Yeah, the title is a lot. It is called Barack Face, the Devil's Greatest Real Estate Flip: How He Sold the Brooklyn Bridge to the Muslims.
Which tells you immediately what kind of rhetorical space we are entering.
Right. The source material contains intensely charged, explicitly anti-Islamic religious rhetoric. And I want to be crystal clear, here we are strictly impartial observers on this journey.
100%. We are not endorsing, we are not validating, and we are certainly not agreeing with any of the viewpoints presented by this author.
No, not at all. We do not take sides on the theology, and we don't take sides on the politics either. Our goal today is purely literary and, honestly, psychological.
Yeah, we are basically dissecting the architecture of an internet polemic.
Exactly. We are here to deconstruct the specific rhetorical strategies this person is using, unpack these surreal analogies being weaponized, and ultimately explore this massive, sprawling, almost unbelievable worldview that is hidden in the blog's extensive metadata.
Because by looking at how this author constructs their argument, we can uncover the underlying machinery of how extreme belief systems are codified online.
Yeah, and the hook for us, the whole reason this specific text demands our attention today, is that what starts as this aggressive religious attack, it completely transforms when you zoom out.
Right, when you look at the author's surrounding work, it is a completely different picture.
It really is. The anti-Islamic rhetoric is just this thin surface layer of a bewildering labyrinth. It gets into artificial intelligence theory, highly specific geopolitical fan fiction about a 2026 war in Iran, and this syncretic religious philosophy the author literally calls Kalkiism.
Kalkiism, yeah.
Hmm.
But to understand that wider, wilder universe, I think we have to start with the core text itself.
We do.
We need to see the author's primary weapon in action, which is this extreme, modernized allegory.
So let's get into the metaphorical mechanics of this Brooklyn Bridge con.
Right. So the central metaphor of this blog post operates by framing the entire religion of Islam as what the author calls a theological deepfake.
A theological deepfake, that is such a perfectly modern internet term.
It is, and the author claims this deepfake was orchestrated by the devil. But this devil is not cast in the traditional sense, you know?
Right, he's not this terrifying, majestic prince of darkness.
Exactly. He is cast as a cosmic used car salesman running a cheap real estate scam.
Yeah.
His ultimate con, according to the Post, is selling the Brooklyn Bridge as prime real estate in Jannah, which is the Islamic concept of paradise.
Okay, let's unpack that juxtaposition for a second, because the author takes the heaviest, most ancient concepts that humanity wrestles with, right?
Like salvation, the nature of the divine, the eternal soul.
Exactly. And they crash those massive ideas head-on into hyper-modern, deeply mundane, highly transactional scam culture.
Yeah, the imagery is super jarring on purpose.
It's so jarring. Like, the author describes the devil as having horns freshly polished with Windex from the Lake of Fire.
Windex from the Lake of Fire. It's just so absurd.
It is. And they mention Wall Street inventing cryptocurrency and OnlyFans in the same breath.
They reference Nigerian princes and timeshare seminars.
Yes. And they describe the believers lining up like it's the world's longest Black Friday queue at the Kaaba's drive-thru.
Which is just wild. But, you know, grounding infinite salvation in the language of cheap consumerism, It serves a very specific rhetorical function.
Okay, tell me more about that. Why use this specific language?
Well, the author is writing for an audience whose brains have been completely rewired by the internet.
Right, internet poisoning, basically.
Exactly. If you sit down and draft a high-minded academic theological critique of a religion, the average internet scroller is just going to scroll right past it.
Yeah, nobody is reading a 40-page theological dissertation on a blog.
But the visceral, humiliating frustration of being scammed, that is a universal modern dread.
Oh, absolutely. It reads less like a traditional theological text and way more like The Wolf of Wall Street, but like set in the afterlife.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
Thanks. I mean, the author translates theological disagreement into consumer grievance. Think about how you feel when you realize you've been catfished online.
Or when you buy a product off some sketchy Instagram ad and it arrives and it's completely worthless plastic.
Yes, you feel stupid, you feel angry. The author is taking that specific modern feeling of being a quote-unquote sucker and applying it to the spiritual fate of 1.9 billion people.
It is wild. It's like the ultimate consumer protection warning, but for your soul.
Right. And it's so crass. Why lower the register to that level?
Well, the lowering of the register is highly deliberate. By dragging the divine into the absolute dirt of late-stage capitalism, referencing Temu, Yelp reviews, and timeshares, the author makes their outrage accessible.
Accessible, yeah.
They are essentially arguing that the devil isn't just evil in some cosmic sense. The devil is running a bad business with terrible customer service.
Right, like they write that the offer is 72 virgins and a parking spot with your name on it, but the fine print reads, no refunds, no prophecies.
Exactly. But here's what is really interesting. While the devil gets cast as this cartoonish, oily scammer, the author employs a really paradoxical strategy when describing the quote-unquote marks of this cosmic con.
Oh yeah, the sincerely deceived.
Right. The text explicitly states that Muslims are not the villains of the story.
Yeah, let me read the actual quote here. The author writes, most Muslims aren't villains in this story. They're the sweetest, most devout marks you'll ever meet, kneeling 5 times a day on a bridge that's visibly swaying over the filthy East River of reality, insisting the water smells like rose water from paradise.
So the imagery there, the filthy East River of reality, contrasted against the rose water from paradise, it is incredibly sharp writing.
It is, honestly.
But look at the strategic framing the author is doing. By explicitly stating that the followers are innocent victims, claiming they didn't choose the con chose them, the author is attempting a classic evasion tactic.
What are they trying to evade?
They are trying to shield themselves from accusations of pure bigotry. They want to claim that they are merely attacking the system and its founder, not the actual people trapped within the system.
I mean, I really have to push back on the idea that this shields them from anything at all.
Oh, it doesn't work, but it's the attempt.
Right, because calling 1.9 billion people gullible marks who fell for a spiritual catfish, that is weaponized condescension.
It really is.
How does that square with calling them sweet and sincere? It feels exactly like when someone says, bless your heart.
Oh, yeah, the ultimate Southern insult.
Exactly. It's like saying, bless your heart, you're just too intellectually stunted to know you've been swindled. It is patronizing disguised as empathy.
You hit the nail on the head. The condescension isn't an accident, it is the entire point.
Really?
Yeah, consider the psychological utility of this framing for the author. When you categorize an opposing group not as adversaries who just have a different philosophical framework, but as tragically fundamentally gullible victims, you elevate your own status.
Oh, I see. You become the sole arbiter of reality.
Precisely. It is the narcissism of the red pill.
Wow, yes. You construct this whole dynamic where you are the only one who sees through the matrix.
Right. You perceive the real owner of the universe while everyone else is just staring at a cheap Temu mask.
It's just so arrogant.
It is. Labeling the believers as sincere allows the author to feign a sort of benevolent compassion.
Ah, so they can write these incredibly vitriolic, destructive takedowns while keeping up this internal narrative that they are the good guy.
Right. They see themselves as a brave truth teller trying to wake the sleeping masses. They are the local saving the dumb tourist from the 3-card Monte dealer in Times Square.
That makes so much sense. I mean, the closing prayer of the piece is literally, may the real Holy Spirit open eyes wider than the Verrazano Narrows.
Anchoring a cosmic, eternal spiritual struggle to New York City bridge traffic is such a bizarre localization of divine will.
It really is. It's so hyper-local.
Right.
But, if the author is going to claim an entire global religion is a fake, a spiritual catfish, as they say, they kind of have to define what a real religion looks like, right?
Exactly. They have to present the alternative.
Huh.
And this brings us to what I call the KPI of the divine.
Yes. This is where it gets so weird. The author attacks the Prophet Muhammad by establishing the strict, almost corporate metric for prophecy.
They literally turn divine revelation into a key performance indicator.
A literal KPI of the divine. Let me read this part. The text argues, prophets, prophesy. It's right there in the job title, people. It's not a participation trophy.
It is so aggressively corporate. And they unfavorably compare Muhammad to the biblical prophet Isaiah,
Yeah, they liken Muhammad to an uncle who never left the couch, which is incredibly disrespectful.
while simultaneously describing Isaiah as dropping predictions like divine sniper fire.
The militarization of prophecy there is fascinating to me. Divine sniper fire, precision-guided missiles through time.
Yeah, God is essentially acting like a defense contractor in this theology.
Exactly, and it completely rewrites the concept of the Holy Spirit.
How so?
Well, growing up, at least in typical Christian context, the Holy Spirit is almost always framed as a dove, right? A comforter, a gentle, guiding presence.
Right, the still small voice.
Exactly. But listen to how this author envisions the Holy Spirit. They write, he's the omniscient, omnipotent, time and space-defying heavyweight champion of existence, the ultimate cosmic oracle who sees past, present, and future like it's a post-it note on his fridge.
A post-it note on his fridge. And the author continues by stating, the Holy Spirit doesn't whisper suggestions. He thunders through real prophets like a divine megaphone on steroids, making mountains move, empires rise and fall, and dead bones dance.
The Holy Spirit on steroids.
That is literally their theology.
It strips all the mystery out of religion entirely. The author views religion purely through this lens of absolute, verifiable, explosive output.
Right. To this author, God doesn't do nuance. God doesn't require quiet contemplation or faith in the unseen.
No, God is a supernova with perfect aim. It is this hyper-aggressive, almost macho demand for divine deliverables.
Divine deliverables. I love that phrase. And what we are witnessing here is a synthesis of two very distinct cultural forces.
Okay, break that down for me. What are the two forces?
On one side, you have the traditional Christian evangelical critique of Islam. That critique frequently demands fulfilled predictive prophecy as the singular, absolute proof of divine inspiration.
Right, that's an old argument.
It is. But the author overlays that traditional theology with a very modern Silicon Valley demand for ROI, return on investment.
Ah, the tech bro mindset.
Exactly. They state Muhammad had 0 verified thus saith the Lord hits, not one.
Rarefied hits.
Yes, they are reading ancient spiritual texts and essentially demanding a quarterly earnings report on miracles.
Wow. Yeah, they say prophecy is the only line item on the divine job description.
Which is a crazy thing to assert.
It really is, because it leaves absolutely no room for religion as a moral framework, or as a cultural unifier, a system of jurisprudence, or even just a personal meditative practice.
Right. If your deity isn't firing precision-guided missiles through time, your religion is basically a failed startup in their eyes.
A failed startup. But here is the massive irony of demanding this absolute, infallible perfection from religion.
Oh, the drafts.
Yes. The source text itself reveals the author's own very flawed, very human drafting process.
This is one of the most fascinating parts of the whole document. The inclusion of 2 slightly different iterations of the exact same essay, published back-to-back.
Yeah, it provides this rare, real-time look into the actual mechanics of manufacturing online outrage. It is honestly like discovering the rough sketches beneath a famous painting, but the painting is just raw internet vitriol.
So let's do some textual forensics on these drafts because it is revealing.
Let's do it. So in the first draft, the author describes the devil in the toll booth, and they say he is sipping virgin daiquiris.
Okay, sipping virgin daiquiris.
Right. But then in the second draft, that image is mutated into sipping virgin pina coladas mixed with the tears of the sincerely deceived.
Right there. The addition of the tears of the sincerely deceived. That introduces a layer of active sadism to the devil's character that a simple daiquiri just lacks.
Right. The author clearly looked at draft 1 and recognized it wasn't cruel enough.
Exactly. They needed to up the cruelty.
And here's another one. In draft 1, the devil is standing on the bridge with a fog machine pumping.
A standard fog machine.
Yeah, but in Draft 2, the scene is upgraded to fog machines belching theatrical hell smoke.
Belching theatrical hell smoke. It is so performative.
So performative. And look at the sign on the real estate booth. Draft 1 features a sign reading Allah Akbar really, no profits, no problem.
Which is already pretty offensive.
It is. But Draft 2 escalates the sign to Allah Akbar Realty, no inspections, no refunds, Allahu Snack Bar.
The integration of Allahu Snack Bar, which is a known, deeply derogatory internet meme that demonstrates the author, is actively hunting for the most inflammatory, culturally resonant button to push.
Yeah, they are deliberately layering it into the text during the revision process just to optimize the offense.
Exactly. They systematically went through that first draft with a metaphorical red pen, asking themselves, how can I make every single adjective punchier, angrier, and more theatrical?
I've got one more example of that. In Draft 1, the believers are described as walking around convinced they've got oceanfront property in Mecca.
Okay, a basic geographical joke.
Right. But in Draft 2, they are kneeling 5 times a day on a bridge that's visibly swaying over the filthy East River of reality.
Wow. The revision transforms a flat kind of dad joke into a physical, highly precarious image of delusion.
It really does. So what does this tell us about the broader mechanism at play here?
It shows us how the internet actively incentivizes performative outrage.
Performative outrage.
Yes. Anger online is rarely a spontaneous eruption of genuine emotion. It is almost always a heavily drafted, meticulously workshopped product that is engineered for maximum virality.
Engineered anger.
Exactly. The author is treating this blog post like a stage play, and the second draft is just the director screaming for more smoke, more lighting, more volume. The outrage is completely gamified.
Gamified outrage. That is a great way to put it. And honestly, it requires an exhausting amount of energy to sustain that level of theatrical rage over thousands of words.
Oh, absolutely exhausting.
You would assume that a person dedicating this much meticulous line-by-line attention to anti-Islamic metaphors has a singular consuming obsession.
Right, you'd think this is their whole identity.
Exactly. You would think this is the core of who they are. But when you pull back the lens from this single post to examine the entire metadata footprint of the blog, you realize this rant is just a microscopic speck in a bewildering intellectual universe.
And this is where we transition from literary analysis into full-blown digital archaeology.
Yes, welcome to the Brackface universe.
So the blog itself is titled Barackface.
Mm-hmm.
And the subtitle proudly declares, and I quote, "I was Barack Obama's first full-time volunteer in New York City."
Which is just wild, placing that highly specific, mundane political credential at the very top of a blog that contains these theatrical, apocalyptic, religious takedowns. It is pure cognitive whiplash.
It really is. And we should name the author here, Paramendra Kumar Bhagat.
Paramendra Kumar Bhagat.
Right. And the sheer volume of his output completely defies logic.
It really does. I looked at the numbers. In 2024, he published 279 posts. In 2020, 435 posts. In 2016, 665 posts.
Which is already a massive amount of writing.
But the spike in 2025 is terrifying. In that single year, he published 1,333 blog posts.
Okay, let's just break down the math on that production for a second. That is nearly 4 distinct blog posts every single day, uninterrupted, for a year.
It's unbelievable.
In July of 2025 alone, he published 238 posts. That is nearly 8 posts a day.
It is a literal geyser of content. And we aren't talking about short little status updates or just dropping links. The sidebars of the blog list dozens and dozens of books he has self-published.
Whole books.
Yes. And the spread of topics creates this cognitive map of a mind that recognizes absolutely zero boundaries between disciplines.
Zero boundaries. Let's talk about those books because the categories are insane.
Right. So first you have these highly technical Silicon Valley business books, titles like Lumina AI, The $1 Trillion Sun.
Which sounds like a sci-fi novel, but it's a business book.
Exactly. And Marketing Escape Velocity, The Path to Unicorn Status,
Yeah, I know.
Beyond.
Very tech, bro.
Very. And then you have these hyper-practical hustle culture manuals. Side hustles that work in 2025, ChatGPT for Business.
Right. So the foundation of his worldview is clearly rooted in techno-capitalism.
Totally.
He views technology, and specifically the concept of agentic AI, as the ultimate engine for human progress.
Let's pause there for a second. For you listening who might not be deep into tech jargon, what exactly is agentic AI?
Good question. Agentic AI refers to artificial intelligence systems that are designed not just to answer your prompts like a chatbot, but to autonomously pursue goals.
Like they do things on their own.
Exactly. They make decisions, they execute complex workflows without any human intervention.
Wow. Okay.
And to this author, agentic AI isn't just a piece of software. It is the trillion-dollar sun that is going to illuminate and organize all the chaos of the world.
He clearly idolizes that billionaire disruptor mindset. He pens posts like Musk's management and literally calls Elon Musk the Shah Rukh Khan of our time.
The Shah Rukh Khan of our time. That is a crossover I never expected.
I know, but the Hustle Culture Foundation takes this massive, unexpected pivot into intense global geopolitical restructuring.
Yeah, this is where it gets really sprawling.
You find books titled A Reorganized UN, Built from Ground Up, and Trump's Default, The Mist of Empire.
He isn't just writing commentary. He thinks he's writing the blueprint for the future.
Right. He writes these novels that chart out the future of South Asia, the Great Subcontinent Uprising, The Dawn Beyond Currency, and The Country of Geniuses, a race through AI adolescence.
Because he actually believes his frameworks can fix the United Nations, redesign global trade, and single-handedly chart the geopolitical future.
Especially in Nepal. He writes extensively about Nepal's path to prosperity, the India-U.S. alliance, and he advocates for free education and healthcare for all in Nepal by way of a referendum.
And he constantly references the Madhisis, right?
Yes. He talks about the Madhisis in America needing to make the leap from bicycle to rocket. Who exactly are the Madhisis?
So the Madhisis are a marginalized group in Nepal. They primarily live in the southern plains bordering India, and they have historically faced a lot of systemic political and economic exclusion.
Okay, so that grounds his work in a very real historical struggle.
Exactly. The author's pragmatic, intense focus on uplifting the Madhisis and restructuring Nepalese infrastructure, it shows this deep desire to solve real-world inequities using the very tech and business tools he outlines in his AI books.
He even writes novels in Maithili, Hindi, and Nepali, like Gen Z Kranti. So the connection between AI disruption and Nepalese infrastructure, I can almost see the logic there. It makes a certain kind of pragmatic sense.
Right, you can follow the thread.
But then we hit the third pillar of this universe, and it completely shatters any conventional logic.
Oh, absolutely shatters it.
Because sitting right next to the UN restructuring plans and right next to the ChatGPT workbooks is profound apocalyptic religious syncretism.
This is where we get to Kalkiism.
Yes. Titles like Kalkiism, the economic and spiritual blueprint for an age of abundance.
And the last age, Lord Kalki, prophecy, and the final war for peace.
Okay, so for those listening who are unfamiliar, we need to explain this. Who is Kalki? And how on earth does a Hindu avatar fit into a tech bro geopolitical manifesto?
It is a wild synthesis. So in Hindu eschatology, Kalki is prophesied to be the 10th and final avatar of the god Vishnu.
The final avatar.
Okay, right. And he is expected to appear at the very end of the Kali Yuga.
The Kali Yuga.
Yes, which is the current darkest age of human history, an age characterized by moral decay, corruption, and hypocrisy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kalki's role is to arrive on a white horse with a blazing sword, destroy the darkness, wipe out the filth of the world, and usher in a new, pure epoch.
So it's essentially an apocalyptic purification.
Exactly.
And the author is connecting this to Silicon Valley.
Yes, because in his mind, Silicon Valley disruption is just secular apocalypse.
Oh my God.
The author is taking the ancient Hindu concept of a world-ending, world-renewing avatar and merging it with the concept of autonomous artificial intelligence.
That is mind-blowing.
He genuinely seems to think that agentic AI and global economic upheaval are the literal prophesied instruments of Lord Kalki.
So AI is the white horse and the blazing sword.
Precisely. The author represents this uniquely modern archetype. I like to call it the hyper-prolific reality architect.
The hyper-prolific reality architect. Explain that.
In his mind, there are no separate categories for AI development. The political struggles of the Madhisis in Nepal, American presidential campaigns, and ancient Hindu prophecy.
They aren't different subjects.
No, they are all nodes in the exact same network.
Yeah.
Kalkiism is his grand unified theory of everything.
Wow. And that completely recontextualizes his vicious attack on Islam, doesn't it?
It really does.
Like when he was obsessing over prophets, prophesying, and demanding verified hits from Muhammad, it wasn't just him borrowing an evangelical talking point to be annoying.
No, it is deeply tied to his own framework of what true prophecy must look like in the age of Kalki.
Right. He measures every global religion against his own bespoke standard of Kalkiism.
Exactly.
And if a religion doesn't align with his specific apocalyptic timeline of AI abundance and Nepalese geopolitical rebirth, well, then it's a fake bridge over the East River.
You've got it. That is exactly how his logic functions.
It is staggering.
But if you think that is staggering, wait until we look at the most intense example of how all these threads bind together.
Oh, you mean the 2026 Iran war?
Yes, his real-time obsessing over a war that hasn't even happened.
The blog posts from April 2026 are a descent into tactical fan fiction that he treats as absolute, unassailable reality.
It is surreal to read.
He publishes posts titled The 2026 Iran War, Anatomy of a 40-Day Strategic Strike.
A 40-day strike, very specific.
Yes. He details 50 days of Operation Epic Fury, and he literally argues that Operation Sindoor beats Operation Epic Fury on every front.
The granularity of his simulation is what really stands out here.
It's intense.
He isn't writing broad, abstract predictions about global conflict. He's debating the tactical nuances of Strait of Hormuz blockades.
Right.
He's discussing the sociological role of the Iranian diaspora in a post-war landscape.
Yeah, and he even critiques J.D. Vance's hypothetical hopes for peace in Islamabad. He writes pieces analyzing why unconditional surrender in Iran is a mirage.
And he wargames a mutual assured catastrophe in the Gulf, a non-nuclear scenario.
He is treating his WordPress blog like it is the Situation Room in the Pentagon.
He really is.
One of his posts is titled, When Water Becomes Steam, AI, Abundance, and a Pragmatic Iran. He is literally deploying his theories on agentic AI into his own simulated theater of war.
It's all connected for him.
But why? Why does a civilian living in 2026 spend his days charting the day-by-day progress of a war, playing out entirely inside his own predictive models?
Well, psychologically speaking, it functions as a world-building coping mechanism.
A coping mechanism.
Think about it. The real world is chaotic. It is fragmented and fundamentally uncontrollable.
That is definitely true.
It is filled with deep economic disparity, actual bloody wars, and completely unpredictable technological upheaval.
Right. AI is scaring a lot of people.
Exactly. So by creating this blog, Paramendra Kumar Bhagat has utilized the infinite blank architecture of the internet to construct a closed digital terrarium.
A digital terrarium. I love that image.
In this terrarium, he is the central node. He is the ultimate authority.
Because he built the glass walls.
Yes. Inside the terrarium, he understands the AI perfectly. He predicts the exact outcome of the Iran war. He designs the United Nations' future. And he alone can expose the devil's real estate scams.
It is an architecture of absolute certainty.
Absolute certainty.
Every global event, from a minor shift in the stock market to the deeply held theological beliefs of a quarter of the global population, it is all neatly categorized, processed through the lens of Kalkiism, and filed away on his blog.
Right. To him, the world isn't murky or confusing at all. He believes he possesses the ultimate clean X-ray of reality.
And if someone else's belief system doesn't show up on his X-ray,
Then they are sincerely deceived marks standing on a fake bridge.
wow. You know, the internet is truly unique in human history because it provides the exact tools needed for individuals to construct and sustain these entirely self-contained universes of thought.
It removes all friction. You don't need a publisher.
Right. You can just publish 1,300 posts a year, surround yourself entirely with your own metadata, and build a cohesive reality where an Obama volunteer becomes the herald of an AI-driven Hindu apocalypse.
It is a breathtaking display of the capacity of the human mind when it is given in an unlimited digital canvas.
It really is. I mean, just think about the journey we took today. We started this deep dive looking at a deeply aggressive, highly theatrical polemic about a cosmic real estate scam.
The devil with his Windex and Timu mask.
Exactly. And then we watched the author systematically inject more cruelty into his own drafts just to optimize his online outrage.
Swapping the decree for the tears of the sincerely deceived.
Yeah. And then we followed those drafts all the way down into this massive, bizarre ecosystem where tech startups, Nepalese infrastructure, and holy wars all orbit the exact same trillion-dollar sun.
It forces us to confront the nature of the digital spaces we inhabit every day.
It really does.
We analyzed how one man built a terrarium of absolute certainty, complete with his own bespoke villains and his own customized prophecies.
And he looks at millions of real people and insists they are walking on a bridge that doesn't even exist.
Right.
Which brings us to the crucial question for you, the listener.
The takeaway.
Yes, because let's be honest, we all crave that clean X-ray of reality.
Oh, definitely. It's human nature.
We all want the comfort of a grand, unified theory that makes this chaotic, scary world make sense.
It's comforting to think you have all the answers.
It is, but when you look at the digital terrariums that you inhabit, the algorithms that feed your outrage, the absolute certainties that your specific communities hold, the metrics you use to judge what is true and what is false, are you truly seeing the murky, complex reality of the world?
Or are you just staring at the bridge someone else wants to sell you?
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the labyrinth of
It's
Barakface.
been a wild ride.
It really has. Keep questioning the architecture of the sources you encounter, look past the headlines, and as always, keep diving deep.